All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to today's explainer, where we're going on a pretty fascinating biological journey. So, if you've ever found yourself just staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. or waking up feeling incredibly groggy, even though you supposedly got 8 solid hours of sleep, well, you're definitely in the right place. Today, we're shifting our focus completely away from arbitrary diet rules and calorie counting. Instead, we're going to look directly at the actual hormonal science of your nighttime biology. What happens when the lights go out is honestly nothing short of miraculous, but as you'll see, the habits we have right before bed can completely derail the whole shebang.
78%. Just let that sink in for a second. Research shows that eating the wrong things in the hours right before bed can suppress your body's single most critical regenerative event by up to 78%. Think about that. You could literally be sleeping, putting in the time, but missing out on nearly 80% of the biological repair you so desperately need. So why exactly does this happen? Well, that is exactly what we're going to solve today.
Here's our roadmap for the explainer. We'll hit the nighttime hormonal events, insulin against growth hormone, and the importance of deep sleep. Then we'll get super practical by choosing your evening foods and figuring out your personalized cutoff time.
All right, section 1, the nighttime hormonal event. Literally within the very first 90 minutes after your head hits the pillow, your body drops into slow wave or delta wave sleep. This initial deep sleep phase is where the absolute magic of cellular regeneration actually takes place. It is, without exaggeration, the single most significant hormonal event of your entire 24-hour cycle. Right here, your pituitary gland releases a massive pulse of growth hormone to drive vital tissue and muscle recovery. Now, you might be thinking this is just a fitness thing, but growth hormone isn't just for bodybuilders. It drives fat oxidation, meaning it actually helps your body mobilize and burn stored fat for energy while you fast overnight. It triggers muscle protein synthesis, so all that actual muscle adaptation and recovery from your workout, yeah, that happens right here in your sleep, not in the gym. On top of that, it repairs connective tissue like collagen, maintains your bones, regenerates your immune system, and, maybe most amazingly, it drives neurological repair, maintaining your brain's gray matter so you wake up feeling sharp. It's basically your ultimate overnight repair mechanic. Moving on to section 2, insulin against growth hormone. So, insulin and growth hormone are physiological antagonists. You can think of them kind of like a biological seesaw. When you eat an evening meal, your body releases insulin to manage those incoming nutrients, right? But here's the biological catch. Growth hormone needs a fasted state to pulse effectively. Because of this, when insulin is elevated, it heavily suppresses growth hormone secretion. They simply cannot peak at the same time. Let me break down the exact biological suppression mechanism behind that massive 78% drop we mentioned earlier. So, you fall asleep, your brain enters that delta wave stage, and your pituitary gland is totally prepped to release its largest growth hormone pulse of the day. But if you've just eaten food that spikes your insulin, that circulating insulin effectively acts as a biochemical roadblock, completely blunting the pituitary signal. Your body misses its primary window for muscle recovery and tissue repair. You are essentially starving your body of its own restorative medicine. Section 3, importance of deep sleep. As you probably know, melatonin is your body's sleep-signaling hormone. As the light fades, melatonin gets released to prep your body for sleep, and part of its job is actually to act on the pancreas to reduce insulin secretion. It's all part of your overnight metabolic downshift. But when you consume high-sugar, late-night carbs, you create this massive insulin spike that directly counteracts melatonin's effect. It creates a literal physiological struggle to fall asleep. If you've ever felt super wired and restless after a late, heavy meal, well, it's not in your head. It's literally your insulin fighting your melatonin. And this creates a compounding consequence. It's a double whammy, really. First, as we just learned, you lose the growth hormone directly because insulin blocks it. Second, elevated insulin actually degrades the quality of your delta wave deep sleep. And since growth hormone is only released during delta wave sleep, degrading that sleep stage indirectly robs you of your repair window all over again. The result? You wake up with impaired cognitive function because your brain hasn't repaired, and your blood sugar is completely out of whack, leading to intense cravings the very next day. Which brings us nicely to section 4, choosing your evening foods. Now, not all evening meals are created equal. The actual composition of your evening meal carries massive hormonal implications. Look at this breakdown. If you eat refined carbs and sugars, your insulin response is sky high, leading to severe suppression of your growth hormone. Protein produces a moderate insulin response, so it has a moderate impact. But check out healthy fats and non-starchy vegetables. They produce a minimal insulin response, meaning they leave your growth hormone pulse largely intact. So you can absolutely eat in a way that protects your recovery.
Now, if you're sitting there right now thinking, wow, I do this literally all the time, please do not panic. 60% of adults consume food after 8 p.m. Evening eating is incredibly common. You are absolutely not alone in this habit. It's just really heavily ingrained in our modern culture. And honestly, it isn't a lack of willpower on your part either. Harvard research has actually identified a biological predisposition toward hunger in the late evening, driven by your circadian appetite regulation. So let's completely drop the stigma of poor discipline right now. Your late-night hunger has a very real physiological basis. Your body is biologically wired to seek out energy at this time. Oh, and here is a totally surprising fact to add to that. Very often, the craving culprit isn't actually a need for calories at all. Those late evening cravings for salty, crunchy foods, the ones where you're tearing through the pantry for potato chips. Actually, scratch that, it's usually a physiological cry for sodium insufficiency, not a genuine caloric need. If your daytime sodium intake is too low, your body signals for salt in the evening. So by simply addressing your daytime salt intake, you can surprisingly fix those late-night snack cravings, modulate your cortisol, and ease right into much better sleep.
Section 5. Your personalized cutoff time.
First off, we have to bust a massive myth. That universal advice you always hear to stop eating at 8 p.m., it's fundamentally flawed. Think about the biology we just walked through. The trigger for the growth hormone cascade isn't the clock on your kitchen wall. It's the onset of sleep in your brain. Someone who works a late shift and goes to sleep at midnight has a totally different biological window than someone who hits the hay at 9 p.m. A fixed time across the board makes zero physiological sense. Instead, we're going to use a personalized equation to protect your overnight recovery window. It's just 3 simple steps. Step 1, identify your typical sleep onset time, like when do you actually fall asleep. Step 2, subtract exactly 3 hours from that time. Boom, that is your personal kitchen closing time. Step 3, make sure your final meal is nutritionally complete. Focus on protein, healthy fats, and those non-starchy veggies. This ensures you're fully satiated and won't have some massive insulin spike crashing into your sleep cycle. And beyond just avoiding food, you can actively amplify your growth hormone pulse. Implementing an extended fasting period can actually multiply the pulse frequency. High-intensity, explosive daytime exercises, think sprints or plyometrics, create a huge demand that your body has to answer with growth hormone at night. And of course, ruthlessly optimizing your deep sleep environment by avoiding stimulants, blue light, and alcohol ensures those delta waves are deep and totally uninterrupted. Just a quick, helpful side note regarding that sodium trick we mentioned a minute ago. If blood pressure is a concern for you, remember to always balance your daytime sodium intake with adequate potassium. Getting a high potassium electrolyte mixer earlier in the day supports fluid balance and overall metabolic health, all without disrupting your sleep patterns later on. Which brings us to the end of our journey today. Let me ask you this. If the single most important repair work of your entire life, from building muscle to repairing your brain's actual gray matter, happens while you sleep, what are you going to feed your body tonight to prepare for it? Protecting that 90-minute window by giving yourself a 3-hour buffer is for sure one of the most accessible and impactful health habits you can possibly build. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Start planning that final meal, protect your sleep, and I'll catch you next time.